we will explore the economic history of financial crises, events that continue to occur and reoccur. Throughout history, both rich and poor countries have muddled their way through a vast range of crises. These crises have included sovereign government defaults on both domestic and foreign national debts, banking and financial market panics, and collapses due to piracy on the high seas and subprime mortgage meltdowns. In addition, there has been monetary inflation due to everything from species currency debasement, which reduced the gold and silver content of coins in favor of more base metals in recent centuries, to the modern corollary of printing more money within a network of sovereign fractional reserve central banks.
Apart from a handful of octogenarians with sharp memories who can remember the crash of 1929 and the subsequent Great Depression firsthand, most of our present generation has little recollection of such matters. Therefore, when the subprime mortgage-backed securities bubble burst in 2008, we felt that we had encountered something unheard of in human history.
In response to this episode, many Americans denied any connection to past crises. We stood around chanting, "This time is different." However, in their book of the same name, This Time is Different, 8 Centuries of Financial Folly, Carmen M. Reinhart and Kenneth S. Rogoff produced evidence that refutes our belief, evidence that is almost a millennium old. The authors cover 66 countries across 5 continents and 8 centuries to create their argument that financial disasters are universal behaviors, rites of passage for all countries and nations. Earlier in the 20th century, Sidney Homer published his first edition of A History of Interest Rates.
Homer presents a readable account of interest rate trends and lending practices that span more than 4 millennia of economic history. By including evidence from ancient Mesopotamia, Greece, Rome, the medieval times, and Renaissance Europe, he offers a big-picture view of the rise and fall of empires against the backdrop of the fall and rise of their long-run average interest rates.
Homer concludes that these rates move inversely to the rise and fall of empires. Many people consider economists a gloomy lot. Other, less kindly critics view this field as one that attracts the chronically depressed. This may be true.
However, we are not bereft of our colorful characters. For example, the 19th century English author, jurist, philosopher, utilitarian economist, and legal and social reformer Jeremy Bentham could not have gone to his reward without some sense of humor.
Leaving a large endowment to the University College London, Bentham set forth in his will that his remains would be wheeled solemnly into the council room of the school so that he may take his place at all regular meetings of the college council. Since his early demise in 1832, the minutes have recorded him as present but not voting.
When not in attendance at meetings, Bentham resides as an auto icon framed by a wood and glass case positioned in a main lobby of the college. He intended that his head should be part of his auto icon, which includes his fully dressed and padded skeleton. However, when the time came to preserve Bentham's head for posterity through a method of desiccation practiced by the Maori tribe of New Zealand, the process went disastrously wrong. It robbed the face of most of its expression and left it decidedly unattractive. The college then substituted a wax head atop the body with Bentham's real head reposing on the floor between his feet, both in his display cabinet and at meetings. Unfortunately, the real head of Jeremy Bentham became a target for a roving band of economics students from King's College London. These rogues stole the head and held it for ransom. The final thread of tolerance by University College broke when officials discovered the head being used for soccer practice on their front quadrangle lawn. After this incident, the powers that be removed Bentham's noggin and placed it in more secure storage. Today, Bentham's fully attired skeleton, surmounted with the wax head, can be seen as he sits in his lobby cabinet.
However, let us turn to Jeremy Bentham, the person, as social reformer, utilitarian economist, and philosopher. Bentham is best remembered as a leading advocate of social reform and the reform of the British prison system, which had degenerated into inhumane workhouses and hellholes.
In searching for a solution, he designed the Panopticon, an institutional building in the round.
Though Bentham conceived the basic plan as being equally applicable to hospitals, schools, poorhouses, daycares, and madhouses, he devoted most of his efforts to developing a design for a panopticon prison, which he described as a new mode of obtaining quote-unquote power of mind over mind. The design concept consisted of a circular structure with an inspection house at the center. From this vantage point, the staff of the institution could watch the inmates housed around the perimeter without their knowledge of being watched. A real prison based on Bentham's design was never built. However, there are 25 prisons internationally that are panopticon-inspired, including one in Illinois.
As a leader of the intellectual movement in Europe and America during the late 18th and early 19th centuries, Bentham was joined by contemporary polymaths such as Johann Wolfgang von Goethe of Germany and John Ruskin of the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood in England.
Furthermore, Bentham allied himself with fellow Unitarians, including Joseph Priestley, Harriet and James Martineau, and economist John Stuart Mill, all of whom were leaders in the movements for factory reform, prison reform, public health, temperance, rights of women, and the abolition of slavery. In accord with their beliefs, Bentham and many of his entourage crossed over into the Fabian Socialist Organization that ultimately included Florence Nightingale, the founder of modern nursing, Prince Otto Bismarck, Chancellor of the German Reich, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, founder of the Theosophic movement, Fabian essayist Annie Besant, who succeeded Madame Blavatsky as president of the Theosophical Society, Sir Neville Chamberlain, British statesman, scientist Charles Darwin, economist David Ricardo, John Stuart Mill, and John Maynard Keynes, writer Karl Marx, Benjamin Disraeli, the Prime Minister of England, and authors/philosophers Aldous Huxley and Bertrand Russell.
The underlying common beliefs of this most influential group included an early rejection of the concept and philosophy of materialism, perceived as the fundamental spirit of the current cultural epoch. This spirit of time grew throughout the industrial age of the 19th and 20th centuries to permeate the global society and economy in which we now find ourselves.